Hi guys, welcome to part 3 of our React tutorial. Today we'll be spending a little bit more time on refining our basic React components to do a couple of cool things like we want to have a reactive application, right? So for instance, we want to be able to click if this to-do list is done, if it is like that's if it is completed or if it is not completed, right? So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do, right, instead of having our components do something like this, right, we want to pass in a list. Like we want to pass in to do items, then the list would render the to do items however it wants to render it, right? So from here, let me see. Awesome. So from here, I would create my to-do items and I would just call it items in here like this. It will be a list. Then it would be a list of so first of all, I want to refactor this to-do item. So I want to copy this type here to be of type equals, let me say type to do item props. Yeah, this is what I want to do. So in here, I would do to do item props, right? I mean, you can use an interface if you want, but I think I'm more comfortable with this for now, at least. So yeah, then for the to-do list as well, I want to do something similar, which is going to be to do list props, but I need to define that as well. So type of to do list props. Awesome. Now everything works as it was anyways. So the next thing I want to do here, right? So my items is going to be of type of to do item props. And I think I got the wrong spelling for this. I typed pros, so I'm going to rename this to props. Awesome. So in this case, the first thing I want to add is I want to add them manually anyways. So I would even have to add them manually. So the first one in this case is the title. So that's fixed 20 bucks. Then the description would be something I would copy. Yeah, then the next one is going to also be something I would copy like this. Then I'm going to use the lazy man. It's actually a smart way to do. Anyways, it's good to be lazy sometimes, most times. Okay, so I'm copying the last one, pasting it here, replacing the equals to symbol with something else, then add a comma here, and we're done. Boom. Easy. Then the next thing we want to do, right? I mean, let me show you how sometimes you might want to do it this way I'm about to show you, right? So you can come here and do, um, like to render items in JSX or to render a list of items in JSX, right? If you have an array of objects, you can do something like this, items dots. If you notice as well, I'm wrapping this in a curly bracket, right? So that would imply that I'm adding some kind of JavaScript inside my components, right? This is like a good way to do that as well. I think it's probably the only way to do that anyways. So I would do dots map, right? I want to render out a couple of things to this place, but majorly I just want to render the to do items anyways. So I said items dot map, then I can come here and say item, then use an arrow function in this case, then return the components directly by doing something like this, right? Then I would pass in my components title, then I would say item dot title. Then for my description, I would do the same thing. Then item dot description like this. Boom. And you see everything is kind of easier to update now, and it's even a nicer way to like view the code. From here you can see I just copy pasted a new to do and it was automatically updated here. So I have less code in a way. I just have a to-do list I'm managing in here, right? So I will take this out, I'll leave it as it is. But then instead of having something like this, what I want to do instead, right? I want to replace the children components, right? I want to replace it to have items. Then the items would now be to do item props, right? Then this would be an array of to do item props. Then for this, I would copy this or cut it rather and paste it inside this section like this. Then I would do props dot item items rather like this. So in this case, since this component does not take any other children, I can use a self-closing tag, but now it takes in a to-do list item. So in this case, I can do something like this. Um, oh, sorry, this wouldn't work here. Yeah, so I can do something like this. Yeah, so now you can see we passed in our to-do items inside the to-do list, and now it renders the to-do items in here. Awesome. This is a very good and let me call it modular way to undo your React's component as well. We have a to-do list, we have a to-do item, and you have your component layouts where you're using the to-do list item. The like interesting part of this, right? With the convenient part actually, is that when you have more components in your app, you could easily do something like this. For instance, let's say I want to add a page title here, right? Let me say H4. Let me say my awesome React project. Like you could easily do something like this. Can you see? So now you can render this to-do list anywhere you want, provided you have the to-do items you want to use, right? This is very nice. This is a very nice approach to do things, right? So for now, I would take this out. I'll take this out and this part out as well. Feel free to add a couple of, add a couple of side attractions to your project as you follow along as well. That's absolutely fine. So what we want to do here, we want to update our to-do item props, right? That's we want to add an extra key in here called completed. This would be to check if our project is actually completed or not, right? So the next thing I want to do, and also in here, instead of specifying each of the to-do items one by one, I'm going to use something called a spread operator, which I believe it's following this pattern of item, right, like this. And when you're rendering a list of components in React, you want to always specify your key, like that's the key for React to kind of track the specific component itself. That's what I believe anyways. So usually I just name it IDX, which stands for index. So when you're mapping an object, it usually comes with an index, which is of a type of number, right? Sometimes you might want to use this for your what do they call it, right? For your React key prop, right? So in this case, I can just come here and specify key and IDX like this, that's index. You might be wondering, we didn't specify this key property in our to-do props, but then it is just one of the properties that React just automatically injects in all your components for you. At least that's what I believe it does here, right? So if you save this, you should have something that works, but you can notice we have a lot of reds in here because the completed property is missing from our type here. So what we want to do in here is we want to add a completed state in here to be true for all of them by default, or let me say false actually. Let me add false for all of them because we've not completed any of them. So yeah, we can add false for them. Okay, I'll just leave that as this. We can add false for all. So now, how do we now know if the to-do list is completed or it's not, right? So what we want to do in here is what do we do in here? What do we do in here? So you can style your components any way you want, right? You can style it anyhow you want. So but the last thing I want to add in here is something like a checklist, something like not a checklist rather, something like a checkbox, yes, a checkbox that you can use to check if you've completed your task or if you've not completed your task. But then I want to change this label to, okay, I'll leave the label anyways. Yeah, let's leave the label. So what I want to do in here is I want to add an input which is going to be of type of checkbox. I hope I know what I'm doing anyways. So I'll just type of checkbox, I think. Yes, so I can use the type of checkbox. So I can check this, but now for now it doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't do anything. So what I want to do is let me see, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? Actually, I just recalled we might want to add IDs for our to-do item, right? We might want to add IDs for this. Okay. So to okay, okay. I'm trying to check how we want to implement this. In some cases you want to add a style to your components, but I think we should deal with that afterwards, not now, right? So the reason why I want to add an ID to this is in a case where we need to update our to-do items, right? So it would be easier to just reference it using the ID, right? So but for now, let's do a mapping of, that's the value for our to-do input, like the checkbox here, right? We want to map the value to props props dots completed, right? Or this should be checked rather, sorry, checked. Yeah, props dots completed. So you can see the value is false for now. And if we click it, we can't really, we were not supposed to be able to change that value anyways. But yeah, the checked value is let me see. Yeah, it's supposed to be a boolean anyways. Awesome. We'll leave that for now, right? Then what we want to do in here is have an ID of number, right? We want to have an ID of number. Then we would come to this section. Yeah, okay. In this, I will just create an ID for them manually in this case. And yeah, ID of 2. Then for the last one, I would specify ID of 3. Of course, you want the IDs to be unique, definitely. So you want them to be unique. So the next thing we want to do in here is let me see. Okay, so yeah, we want to have a state or a style for when, let's check one of our items to true, like let's add one of them to completed. So we'll change that to true. You can see this is true already. So if the item is already completed, we want to add a specific or a different kind of style into it, right? So we can do it in a couple of ways, but I would like to preach the, let me say, the proper convention I would have loved for people to follow often, right, is using the aerial selector or something like that. I don't really know what they call it, but let me show you the manual approach people would do. So what most people would do in this case, right, for the to-do item, right, so we are going to use this approach, use the what do they call it, this thing, I think forgotten what they call it anyways. So we are going to be using the ternary operator to do a check inside this place, right? So we are going to have a CSS style, right? That is going to be, let me see. Oh, okay. So what I want to do is just a simple strike through for the to do items, right? So we want to strike through this 620 box, and that's in this case is the to do item label. I think it's a to do item label. Yeah. So that's what we want to do. So, but let's just create a style, right? In here, let's call it to do item completed, right? So inside to do item completed, we want to do something like we want to style the label inside the to-do item, right? And we want to let it have a text decoration of strike. Is this how to do it anyways? Let me see. Is it text style? Uh, mm, okay, okay, yes. I would have to check this. I don't remember the properties to do strike through. CSS strike through. Yeah, I don't remember the syntax to do strike through, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, it's text decoration, but it's line through. Okay. I think I was on the right track anyways. Text decoration line through. Okay. So this is one we're looking for. So what we want to do, right? We want to say if our to do item props is completed, like if the to do is completed, we want to add that specific style, but if it is not completed, we just want to use the default style. So we can do completed in this case, then use the question mark, then say, is it completed? Then if it's completed, just do to do item completed in here like this. But if it is not completed, just use an empty list, something like that. So from what you can see here, we have that strike through already in effect in here. Awesome. So the next thing we want to do, we want to be able to complete all these other to do items. You can see even if I'm checking this right now, it's not striking through, right? So what we want to do in this case is we want to, let me see. Okay, so what we want to do here, we want to have a function or a way to do an update, right, for our to-do application such that when we have like when we click it, even when we update the function inside our to-do item, it is reflected in this items section specifically in this case. So I feel like we should break that to the next video. So yeah, for now, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you actually like the contents in this channel, and share to other people that might be interested as well. And I will see you guys in the next video.